Hello there, Swarm of Firestorm Dragon here, and I've had it with other people's opinions. That's right, I'm right, you're wrong. And I'm gonna prove this. Well, there's one problem. I haven't played enough games that released this year to fill up a magical top 10 list, so, Okay, how about this? The top 10 games I played this year. Yeah, let's go with that. First off, I like Kirby. It's never been a series that I consider myself a fan of. I've only popped in for a game or two every now and then, and it's always been a series that I've kind of kept at arm's length. I'll be honest, Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland wasn't anything exceptional. But not every game needs to be a masterpiece to be fun, and that's exactly what this game was for me. A fun time that I really enjoyed playing. Personally, I played it on the Wii U through the Virtual Console. And it was a really fun experience for me. The sprites, very nice and pretty. I like Game Boy Advance style sprites. They're always really good. The copy abilities were quite simple, but always fun to use. And there were a few, like UFO and Ball, which I wasn't used to using, that were fun to mess around with in this game. It's definitely very well made, though obviously some of the level design hasn't really held up and isn't all that great. It's a remake of an NES game, so you know, it makes sense. In conclusion though, fun game, recommend, and please enjoy. I like puzzles in theory, but puzzles in games can definitely wear me out. I can spend hours optimizing a tricky situation in an RPG, but for some reason puzzle games themselves tend to hit me with burnout. I think it's because they often subvert your expectations and force you to learn and relearn mechanics. Don't get me wrong, that's fantastic puzzle design, and that's why I've put Box Boy on this list. It's not a brain melter or anything, but especially towards the late or end game, I found myself with a bunch of aha moments or creative solutions. And I managed to hit the credits this time, so something really must have kept me invested. It's definitely a gameplay first type puzzle platformer. Visuals are simple and clean, but definitely uninspired. I'm certainly going to wrap up all the post-game worlds as soon as I can. So, for getting me into a puzzle game, especially after a certain other game made me despise puzzles, Xenosaga 2, it earns a spot on my list. Alright, so I'm a big fan of Pokemon. I think regardless of how little effort they put into the game, the core foundation is so solid it's hard to mess up. So what about a game that throws away that core foundation? Well, Legends Arceus was certainly a great time, but, oh boy, were there some sucks. Trainer battles are really bad. The battle system is totally imbalanced. I mean, look at this. That was supposed to be one of the harder battles in the game. And on top of all of that, the new catching system is easily exploited in the same repetitive way. And failing always results in the same couple of solutions. Open a battle and catch, or run away, lose aggro, and try again. Both of which are immensely unsatisfying. It sounds like I kinda hate this game then. I don't. It's just really fun to run around a Pokemon world that feels lived in, with systems that make catching and battling seamless. Sending out your full party is also just great. I like that. I like seeing all my Pokemon on the field at once. And the world itself is just really interesting, with a wildly distinct atmosphere. Also, just the boss fights in this game are super fun, and quite tough occasionally. I had a ton of fun at the end of the day, and I really hope they give things another try with this formula. If they rework the battle system a bit, introduce some more varied moves, and either rework or take out the catching system, there's a ton of potential here. I really hope we see more from this. I played the first Xenoblade game back around 2015 on my Wii U, because I'm one of the 3 people who own that. I didn't make it very far though, about halfway through. It was only partway through last year when I finally caught the Xenoblade fever, first playing through Xenoblade X, then going through Xenoblade Definitive Edition on the Switch, and then this year I finished off the journey with Xenoblade 2. And well, it was really damn good. I'm only putting it this low on the list because I'd like to highlight other games coming later, and if this list was just me talking about the Xeno series back to back, I might have bored some people. The gameplay is satisfying, the visuals are striking, music incredible, etc. The only lacking area, at least in the base game, is the story. And Torna, but we don't talk about it. Thankfully, the DLC campaign Torna, the Golden Country, no relation to Torna thankfully, fixes both of these issues. Honestly, if I could pick one of these two games for the spot, Torna takes it no contest. The story of Torna and the tragedy it tells not only is interesting in its own light, but actively enhances the meaning of the main story told in the base game. Also, it has quests that don't make me tear my hair out, which base Xenoblade 2 cannot say. If you've not played a Xenoblade game before, I can easily recommend just the entire series. Alright, so I beat this game like 2 days ago, all 100%, well, except for playing a rare level as Luigi. It's a real last minute addition to this list, and well, I mean, considering how quickly I beat it, it really just had me hooked. It's clear. I've always been a big fan of Mario 3D World since I grabbed that on the Wii U, but I never picked up its predecessor. Turns out, it's more of the same, but just a little bit worse, which puts it on a really high level. It's amazing how fun a game like this is. I just kept playing levels over and over until I found everything to do in each of them. It also is like the first time I've genuinely felt like I had to play in 3D, which is like, I've never felt that about a 3DS game before. The effects are just so good. It's really impressive. It's just good, clean fun, like every Mario before and every Mario since. Highly recommend. And if you want to give it a shot, I recommend you hurry up because Nintendo is like nuking the entire eShop and internet in, oh shoot, 3, 2, let's go. Speaking of the internet, yes, this is more Splatoon. Yes, the campaign is fun. Yes, the multiplayer is excellent. Yes, of course, it's got a ton of content on the way with updates, I'm sure. Play it, have fun with your friends if you can, and whatnot. That's all. Bye. I'm going to list this entry without discussing any performance or glitch issues, because I'm just kinda sick of having to disclaim that every time I talk about this game. So, moving on, this game is just really fun. The world is nice and open, there's plenty of items and Pokemon to find everywhere you go, and the gym challenges are all unique and memorable. And I don't feel like I'm pummeling every enemy with some crazy speed trick. I've always appreciated how Heart Gold and Soul Silver let you take the gyms in any order for the second half, so seeing that realized in an open world game was just really refreshing. I had a ton at some gyms, and because I tried a new team of 3 Pokemon out for every story objective, I never got massively overleveled on my circular route around Paldea. Honestly, even the story wound up being surprisingly fun, though nothing mind-blowing, even for the tame standards of Pokemon. If I had one complaint, it's really just the lack of a post-game battle facility. Raids are fun, if not a little broken at the moment, but I'd like to practice some competitive without the high difficulty of actually facing people online. So, I don't think a game has made me appreciate RPG design as much as Xenosaga Episode 1, Der Vielzulmacht. Is that right? Hopefully. It's honestly just amazing how much the battle system in this game is pushed and stretched by the design, until almost every boss pushes you to interact with it in a unique way. Unlike the other games on this list, this one is a bit obscure, so bear with me as I try and explain my thoughts. Early on, my nasty old PS2 controller drifted, and I learned, much to my misfortune, that healing items can be used on enemies. Much later in the game, I came across enemies that healed whenever I damaged them. A little bit odd, so I experimented, and found that trying to use a potion on them wiped them right out. That kind of discovery, or careful use of mechanics, dominates this entire game. There's a boss early on, for instance, that unleashes a massively powerful attack on a selected turn, according to a little slot that spins every turn. It turns what typically might have been a slight boost into a critically important mechanic and teaches the player how to boost to prevent the enemy from gaining an advantage. There's so many examples like this, enemies and bosses that I'll always remember, and that's not even getting into the story. Though at the end of the day, this game is just a setup to a much larger narrative. The characters present here are all incredibly memorable and three-dimensional, even down to minor villains. My favorite part though is that the game throws you right into the narrative. You have no idea what's going on in the background, but you're grounded enough in the immediate motivations of the characters that you almost never feel lost moment to moment. Also, the Albedo Malpesh scene is one of the most uncomfortable yet incredibly composed scenes I've seen in a video game. I think that behind maybe Pokemon, which really just grips me with the collection aspect, this is my favorite traditional turn-based RPG. It's genuinely incredible and a lot more people need to play it. Have you ever had a game just truly immerse you, where you feel like the world is real, truly alive, where your actions genuinely affect every consequence? For me, no game has come closer to capturing that feeling than Triangle Strategy. I genuinely feel like every action I took had a massive weight, and while the story paths did often converge, and your ending was still unfortunately based on a single choice, there were whole story beats with varied paths along the way where I made choices that felt important, and I had to play through the consequences of those actions. Because morality is a three-way system in this game, there's usually 2 or 3 options that feel viable, meaning it's not usually the case of right and wrong, but which answer you personally agree with. I also just love the format of the story. While most characters aren't in and of themselves exceptional, the way their individual ideals inform the politics between the nations in the game, forming a complex web of interrelation where no one side ever feels truly just, and there are no easy answers. It's just an amazing thing to see. The gameplay is also just really creative and sparks the imagination, making use of gimmicky skills and environmental elements to abuse the inherent advantage the AI has on you, at least on hard difficulty. It's almost always rewarding. Honestly, just talking about this game just puts me in the mood to run through it again for another ending. I'd go do that right now, but I think I should finish this video first. Aha! Okay, gotcha. I'll make you wait just a minute longer. See, of all the games I played this year, there were only 2 that made me completely give up on my sanity while playing. And I'm not finished with Persona 3 yet. So let's settle for a game that really, truly fails on a fundamental level. This year, I played all 3 of these Xenosaga games, and I fell in love with the world, the characters, and the story. That part of Xenosaga 2 is no less impressive than the other entries. In fact, I think Xenosaga 2 might have my favorite story of the 3. The gameplay, however, is a complete and utter mess. There's so many cool ideas here. There's the class system, which presents a chance to learn a wide variety of skills on every character. It's completely worthless in practice though. The double attack system has the chance to provide unique animations and character to all the personalities that I wouldn't be able to see otherwise just through the regular gameplay. But I never figured out how to unlock them. I think it's tied behind the really obtuse quest system that I also couldn't figure out. Alright, what's that leave? The only system that actually matters. Alright, the brake system. Which, honestly, is great in concept. I mean, we see it in the Xenoblade games. It's a fantastic mechanic in those games. But the way it works in this game... oh dear. It's just really annoying. It's trial and error based, and it turns combat into a waiting game of like 20 turns before you just unload all your skills on the enemy, rinse and repeat for every encounter. I actually literally almost gave up on this game during the final boss. But you know what? Despite all of that, this is the only game I've ever played where you have a fist fight with a cathedral. It's also the only cool fight in this whole game, but it kind of redeems it, I'll be honest. I don't think I've ever played a game for this long so quickly. I've dumped over 200 hours into this game, and I can't wait to hop back in when the next DLC wave comes out. How do I even start talking about this game? It's the perfect melding of story and gameplay, where quests and exploration fill in the story you experience. There wasn't even a single moment where I was bored. The combat was not only flashy but fun, and building all kinds of characters proved to be super just engaging and creatively liberating. Visually, the game does suffer a touch on environmental design compared to the others. But the mixing of location motifs from Xenoblade 1 and 2, as well as a number of references it was all just fun to see. And the game's sheer scale and visual beauty for a Switch game are just truly impressive. The music is either catchy or sweeping. It's just a fantastically made game, and I'm very proud to own this special edition for it. I don't know what the future holds for this series, even the DLC is a mystery. But playing this game alone has convinced me that every step of that journey will be incredible. Play it yesterday. So thanks for watching this video. I really just wanted to share my thoughts on the games I've played this year, and hopefully the coming year will prove to be a great year for this YouTube channel. I have a ton of video ideas that I may be cooking in the background. Stay tuned, and Happy New Year. Early on, my nasty old P control